Welcome into the College Football Every Game on the Board podcast, week number 9. We're getting after it here, guys. The top of the card, 103, 104, down to rotation number 127, 128. We like to say go to the Wager Talk live odds screen. Those little numbers next to the team name. We are making our way down in order, hitting every single game on the board with our leadoff hitter here, Matt Josephs from sportsmemo.com, at Midmajor Matt on Twitter. Matt, welcome in. How you feeling?
Feeling good, Drew. We gave out a couple of winners on the pod last week. The two most confident. Iowa scored 10 points. We only needed 9.5. And Liberty won outright last week. So our record for those are pretty good on the show. And 9-1 overall on the sides and totals last weekend. Had a couple prop misses, but 9-1 on the sides and totals. So we're seeing college football really well right now.
9-1 last weekend, guys. Wow, what a college football overall weekend for you, Matt. And yeah, throwing out the 2 free winners here on the Every Game on the Board podcast. I know the listeners appreciate that, and hopefully find another one here for you guys at the end of the segment. But let's start off here. Thursday, October 27th. We got 3 games on Thursday, so a triple header here. 2 at 7:30 Eastern, 1 nightcap at 10 p.m. Eastern. Going in rotation order, 103, 104, Virginia Tech, NC State. We are seeing the Wolfpack, Matt, minus 13.5 point home favorites, 39.5 being the total. Low total here in the ACC with a nearly 2 touchdown favorite at home. Are you liking anything with the Hokies and Wolfpack?
So normally when we have the situation of a low total, high underdog, you look at the underdog, and I don't know if I can do it in this situation. I talked about it last week with Virginia. Virginia Tech's coming off their bye week, and sometimes I like to play bad teams off their bye week who can refresh their season and kind of be like, all right, we put that behind us, we're moving on. But the Hokies still have bad talent on offense. Their wide receiving core is bad. Their running back group is not good enough. It's good. Malachi Thomas is good. Keyshawn King's good. But you can't base yourself, especially in a Power 5 conference, off a run game like the Hokies, because it's nowhere near the really good one. So I can't back the Hokies here. NC State, who knows what their mindset's going to be? They're already essentially possibly out of the Atlantic division race because they lost to Clemson. They lost last week 2 weeks ago to Syracuse. They don't have Devin Leary at quarterback. They are the home team. So this is kind of a tough game to handicap, Drew. Normally you'd look at the underdog, but I can't back this Hokies offense. I agree with the move down to 39, but I'm not playing anything that low in college football. So it seems like it's a little bit of an easy game to kind of pass here because of all the conflicting situations.
Guys, Matt knows his ACC conference football and basketball, also knows the mid-majors. It's in his Twitter handle there. And he's actually coming to us from the ESPN studio there in Richmond. Matt, how can people listen to your radio show there?
3 to 4 Eastern time. You can go to our website, espnrichmond.com, or download the iHeartRadio app. Just finished an interview with Chris Long, so that's pretty nice. It'll air on my show today. The former Wahoo great / Philadelphia Eagle great.
Yeah, how was it? Any behind the scenes, pretty cool guy?
Hey, awesome guy, amazing guy. He's doing a lot of great charitable things that are being involved here in Richmond and Charlottesville. So we got into some of that and some football as well. He is a fantastic guy. We'll have that on the show today.
Next game up, Matt, we got 105, 106, also 7:30 Eastern in Louisiana Lafayette at Southern Miss. We're seeing a competitively priced game here, -1 pretty much across the board. That's Southern Miss as the home favorite, 43 being the total in Hattiesburg.
Yeah, so Louisiana is tough to figure out, Drew. I mean, they've got some injuries. Chris Smith has been banged up in the backfield. I still can't get that out of my mind watching the Monroe game where they looked absolutely awful on offense, but their defense is really good. And you look at Southern Miss coming off of a somewhat lackluster win at Texas State. Obviously, I'd love for Southern Miss to get the win here. We have a Southern Miss win total over that we sort of need, but Louisiana is the better team. Now, you don't usually like to play the road teams short weeks because of the fact that there is the travel. Southern Miss has a funky offense a little bit. Do like Frank Gore Jr. here. But it's an interesting game, Drew, and it's tight for a reason because I don't know necessarily which Louisiana we're going to get. The one that looked really bad against Monroe, the one that looked really good last week against Arkansas State.
Yeah, Monroe's improved. I know we don't have him on our slate this year, but that might have had something to do with it. Also, I noticed you made the transition to calling them Louisiana. Have you given up on UL Lafayette?
Yeah, I'm gonna try and call them what the way they're supposed to be. I'm gonna try and be like that. So yeah, and you're right because last week my best bet was the over in the Army Louisiana Monroe game, and because as we talked about, the Warhawks offense is improved. So certainly I'm going to give them credit, but Louisiana still should probably be better than their in-state rivals.
We got the nightcap on Friday, guys. 107, 108, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific kick here. Interesting handicap in the Conference of Champions. Utah at Washington State, 55 being the total. We're seeing the Utes minus 7-point road favorites. They opened 8.5. Been a 1.5 move here with some Cougar money at home. What are you thinking late night, Matt?
Yeah, it's interesting because I remember we talked so much about Washington State earlier in the season. They go to Wisconsin and win that game. And even though, look, it's, Wisconsin's not as good as they used to be, it's still a Pac-12 team winning at a Big Ten team. And I feel like that kind of buzz is worn off. Now, granted, look, Washington State's coming off a bye week. They just lost at Oregon State. That's never good. And then you look at Utah, who thankfully has that bye week where they come off that win against USC here, Drew. It's a lot of points. Wazoo should be able to put up some points on their own. But I don't know if they could stop Utah in this one. Their team total's 31.5. What do you think about this game?
I like Utah. I've lost on them a couple times, though, so it's kind of tough for me to get back to the well here. I like Washington State. I mean, what their quarterback, offensive coordinator, you were the one that put me onto that. He came from what? Incarnate Word, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, that kind of offensive scheme, I don't know if it's going to give Utah's defense as much trouble as like UCLA did, having a good offensive line and getting a push like that. I'm not so sure Washington State has that ability, but I do think Washington State will be able to score. Seeing 55 as the total, sidewise, I don't have a strong opinion. Totals wise, I kind of like it up and over.
Yeah, and the key here, occasionally, there's weather issues in Washington. I'm pulling up the weather for tomorrow now. There's no wind. There's a little bit of wind, but it's earlier in the day. It's going to be about 52-ish, actually colder than that, 42, but that plays right into Utah. So there doesn't seem to be any sort of weather advantage in this one either.
All right, let's move on to Friday Night Lights here, October 28th, the doubleheader. Both actually at 8 p.m. Eastern time, so simultaneous kicks, 111, 112, ECU at BYU. Good alphabetical matchup here, Matt. 62 being the total. BYU minus 3-point home favorites, of course, to East Carolina. East Carolina off that big win over UCF. BYU, I'm not really sure how healthy they are. I kind of think this 3 is short, though, Matt. In Provo, in the altitude. I don't know. What are your thoughts here?
So I was just looking up, and this is one of these plays I'm probably not going to be able to play until game day because, as you said, BYU is really banged up. I'm looking at an article now from yesterday that says starting running back Chris Brooks, co-starting wide receiver Cody Epps are not going to play in this game this weekend. Brooks is averaging 6.1 yards per carry. Epps leads the team in receptions, receiving yards, and touchdowns, but Gunnar Romney looks like he's getting closer, and it seems like he might play. So if you have Romney and Puka Nacua, that's going to help out the offense a little bit, Drew. I think situationally and spot-wise, you play BYU or nothing here. East Carolina coming off the huge home win against UCF. I believe East Carolina has a bye next week. BYU's a prideful program. That road trip that they made to Liberty, they got embarrassed. Like, they did not look good at all. I feel like the home crowd's going to buoy them. But once again, I kind of want to wait to see what the injury report looks like, Drew. I almost wait. If it gets shorter, I might just take the money line for BYU. That way I don't have to worry about any sort of shenanigans or anything like that. But right now, the lean is BYU. But I got to wait until closer to kickoff to see what their injury situation looks like.
Yeah, tough trip too. Going from the Carolinas all the way out to Utah. Not a trip a lot of probably that program is used to making. We got also 8 p.m. Eastern kick, 113, 114. Louisiana Tech at FIU. Talk about intriguing handicaps here, Matt. This opened minus 9.5. That was the Bulldogs. Louisiana Tech is the road favorite. Now we're actually seeing 6 in the hooks out there. So crossed over to the key number of 7. We're seeing FIU money, total of 57. Matt, this FIU program is really tough to get a beat on. I mean, they go get beat by 70 plus points to Western Kentucky. Then they just went on the road and got a win. They stayed within the number against UTSA. Are they actually heading in the right direction under Mike McIntyre? What are you thinking in West Miami Friday night?
So I like, once again, I kind of like FIU in this situation. I mean, obviously, I would have liked them more at the key number of 7. And look, I know some people in our industry may roll their eyes to this. I don't really care. Everybody's got their own kind of strategies, but I would kind of, if you do like FIU, buy the half a point and then make it, 7 and give yourself a key number of 7 here, because they're not very good defensively. I do like Grayson James. I had to watch, as I've talked about on this show, I do game casting for a company, and I actually had to watch the FIU New Mexico State game a couple weeks ago, and I liked what they did with James as their quarterback, and I like Tyrese Chambers. And Louisiana Tech can score, but their defense isn't very good, and they're coming off a very tough home loss to Rice in overtime. Situationally, this thing lines up very nicely for FIU. And I probably would recommend, if you're going to take them, buy the half a point, get the 7 before it falls to 6. I'm not telling you, I would never tell anybody to buy a full point, but a half a point, Drew. I don't know what your stance is, but I would feel a whole lot better with that key number of 7 than 6.5 with a bad team at home that I think should score some points.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept. I mean, I don't know. I guess like you talked about, other people in the industry, like the kind of rule of thumb that I hear people talk about is don't buy points. I don't know though. I mean, I don't really do it, but unless it's something like 2.5 to 3 in the NFL, I don't really know, man. I mean, there is a 7 out there. Actually, guys, this is a great point to make. Check out the Wager Talk live odds screen. You can go look at the sports books that have the number of 6.5, have the number of 7.5, and get a book that has the number of 7. If you like FIU, get that half a point. Then you don't have to buy anything. Matt, one thing I want to ask you though in this, because I think it's very important. FIU, I actually went to the game, like 2-3 weeks ago. And I'm interested in what you said there about James and watching the game, what they did with him. What did you like about it? Because he looks like a pretty good athlete, but I don't know if he's like really bet on quarterback style. What did you like?
So he's not a bet on quarterback, but in this situation, he might be, because like Louisiana Tech's defense is just not very good. And they did what they, when you're not a good team, Drew, but you have a really good quarterback, at least mobility wise, you get him out of the pocket, you allow him to use his legs a little bit, and you almost run the Madden style offense. And people who watch this may know, like, when you had Michael Vick, or you had insert fast quarterback on Madden, you basically rolled out and you ran Michael Vick to the left, you ran Michael Vick to the right. Like, you basically ran like an offense that was basically just quarterback based. And look, Grayson James is not Michael Vick in a video game, but he at least has mobility. Tyrese Chambers is not going to be open every time. So you almost take out a bad offensive line. You just take out all the things that could go wrong there. And by using his mobility to a positive, they were able to move the ball a little bit. So yeah, he's not polished, to say the least, at all. And he's got one decent wide receiver. That's it. But you do what you do, and you basically maneuver him around. And that means the defense has to maneuver around. And there could be some openings for him either to run or for him to throw some passes to Chambers or as tight end, whoever.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's what FIU needs to do. I think that's what they will do. I went to the game against UTSA on a Friday night. One of the great things I like to do, Matt, is be able to go to games like that where I've literally been to many, many high school games where there's a better atmosphere and more people than an FIU home game. But one cool thing about it is you can go sit right behind each sideline and kind of see how they're acting. And one thing I noticed from James is, yes, he's a good athlete. He's a big kid. They should actually run him more, like you're talking about. He struggles throwing the ball downfield, like with touch on a deep ball. And another thing here, like he came back from one play, he was like throwing his helmet. He was screaming all around. It was kind of like a wild man on the sideline. You don't normally see like a lot of quarterbacks do that, but I just wanted to throw out there in terms of what I was learning sitting close to the FIU sideline. We got Saturday action here, October 29th. Couple games here with Mid-Major Matt. We'll bring in Teddy Covers at 3:45 Eastern, 12:45 Pacific time to go over part number 2 of every game on the board. But starting off here, top of the card Saturday, 117, 118, Illinois and Nebraska, 50.5 being the total, -7 or -7.5. That's Illinois as the road favorite in Lincoln, Matt.
So I try and stay away from the Big Ten outside of like, some unders every once in a while. I mean, both these teams are coming off the bye week, and I had under on Minnesota's team total when they played Illinois, and Minnesota looked bad against this defense. They won that game 26-14. That was a winner. Nebraska's team total is around 20.5. Nebraska's offense, I feel like, Drew, is hot and cold. The one thing I do know and can count on in this thing, and the thing I'll probably give out maybe is, depending upon what Chase Brown's number is, Nebraska's run defense is not good. 2 weeks to prepare is not going to help them. So I'll be interested to see what kind of number I get on Chase Brown's rushing yards. If I can't play that, I'll definitely put Chase Brown in my DFS lineups. He should have at least 2 touchdowns in this game. I don't believe a bye week is going to fix Nebraska, Drew, but I'm certainly not ready to lay that many points on the road with Illinois.
Next up, 119, 120, 12 o'clock noon Eastern. We got 9 a.m. Pacific kick here. Boston College at UConn. BC minus 7.5-point road favorites. 44.5 being the total. UConn competitively priced here against an ACC team, Matt. I don't know. What are you thinking?
It's so crazy, Drew, because you look at this game and you're like, BC should kill them.
Yeah.
BC did not look very good against Wake Forest. BC's defense is probably good enough to play well in this game, but you're making the travel. Now, granted, it's a short travel to UConn. And it's crazy, Drew, because UConn may have found a quarterback and then he gets hurt in the first game of the year. And so now they're coming off a bye week. They played well at Ball State, Drew. I mean, I guess losing 25-21 is playing well for them. Oddity for Boston College here, Drew, second of 3 straight games for them playing a team off a bye week, which I find interesting. Not that that's a huge advantage for UConn in this situation, Drew. I really want to play UConn plus the points here. I just don't think I can do it because Boston College could throw 3 touchdowns to Zay Flowers and win this game 21-0, and I can't cover this one, even if Boston College is terrible.
Matt, getting in your comfort zone here for the next 3. Coastal Carolina at Marshall, primetime, 7 o'clock Eastern kick in Huntington. 121, 122, the rotation number. Marshall, the Thundering Herd, minus 2.5-point home favorites, 55.5 being the total here, Matt.
So, I love this game. This one is fantastic. We'll take the Marshall side first. I was very impressed with what Marshall did down in Harrisonburg last week. Now, granted, part of that was JMU didn't have Todd Centeio. Their starting quarterback was out. The backup threw 3 interceptions, and JMU couldn't mount any drives or anything. But you got to give some credit to Marshall there. Marshall's got a good defense. The Gilmore kid, who's Stephon Gilmore's son, they're playing good defense. And then you got Coastal, Drew, and I do think the bye week's going to help Coastal. They got embarrassed against ODU at home 2 weeks ago. I think the bye week's going to help Coastal. The best play probably in this game is the over. I do think Coastal refines some things, fixes some things in terms of their offense. I don't know if they can fix their bad defense in this one. I think both sides can put up some points. So my lean, if I was to play anything in this game, would be the over.
Good one there in Huntington. And I don't know about a good one here. Definitely a little bit of a degenerate special feel. Not late night, but just the teams here. New Mexico State at UMass. We got New Mexico State, the Aggies, minus 2-point road favorites, 39. So a sub 40 total here. What, going from Las Cruces, New Mexico to Massachusetts? This is a wild trip. There's a lot to handicap here, Matt. Right up your alley, man. What are you thinking, New Mexico State, UMass?
So the first thing I'm looking at here is the weather. It's a cold day. It's going to be a UMassian sort of day with, temperatures in the 50s coming down to the 40s for this one. It's a 3:30 kickoff, so it's going to be probably attended by 6 people. One of my losses last week was I had the team total under for New Mexico State, and I was surprised that New Mexico gave up 21 points to them. And actually, that was, if I remember correctly, 2 weeks ago because New Mexico played somebody else last week. So New Mexico State's actually coming off a bye week here. And then you've got UMass also coming off a bye week after a 34-7 loss to Buffalo. I mean, I can't, in good conscience, Drew, give out a play here. If I was to play anything here, it would probably be UMass. You lean to the home team in a game like this. New Mexico State won 44-27 last year, which is crazy to see that score. Because I think if you gave New Mexico State 8 quarters, they couldn't score 44 points. I mean, they couldn't move the ball against FIU in that game I watched. So I won't be playing anything in this game most likely. But if I would be, it would probably be the home team plus the points here.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to lay points with New Mexico. You're going from Las Cruces to Amherst. That's New Mexico to Massachusetts. I don't know. There's just that's a lot going on. It'd be UMass or pass, and it's really tough to bet UMass. Guys, he's Matt Joseph. He brings up his one loss, and that was his only loss of the weekend, right, Matt?
That was my only total side loss. Yes.
Okay, side loss. So what was your overall college football record last weekend?
It was 9-3. A couple of tough losses on some props. Jahmyr Gibbs had a weak game last week. I thought he was going to run all over for Mississippi State. And then I put a small play on, Michael Penix to have over 2.5 touchdowns against Cal. They had a horrendous first half, and then he had 2 in the second half. So that one fell short too.
Follow him on Twitter at MidMajorMatt. Check him out, guys, for his client packages at sportsmemo.com. He's 59-36 this year in college football. He was 130-98 last year and 98-59 in 2020. So 3 straight years of profits in college football. NBA started now. He's 4-0 in NBA props and an NFL prop run of 38-30. So profitable there. MLB with the World Series. We'll see if he has anything. He's 16-4 so far in the MLB playoffs. So Matt Joseph, sportsmemo.com. Couple plays left here. Miami of Ohio and Akron. Talking some action here, Mac. 125, 126, kicking us off on Saturday, 12 noon Eastern kick here. -9. That's Miami of Ohio as the road favorite. 48.5 being the total in Akron, Ohio.
So, by the way, soon, Drew, we're going to be talking about Tuesday night action. So excited. I think it's not next week. It might be actually next week or 2 weeks from now. We're getting close to it. It's so exciting. So looking forward to talking about that. I like Akron here, Drew. I don't know if I'm going to play Akron plus the points or Akron's team total over. It's 19.5 on DraftKings. My best bet for our little segment here, Drew, will be something Akron related. I like what I've seen from Akron. DJ Irons is running that offense really well. Now they had a close game against Kent State. The one reason why I'm leaning towards the team total is Akron's defense is terrible. But like I've watched Miami, Ohio the last 2 weeks, Drew, and Avion Smith's not the answer. And their defense and their offense is not the answer. They scored 10 points at home to Western Michigan, and then they couldn't score against Bowling Green consistently. So I really like what I'm seeing from Akron. The question is, can I trust their defense enough? And I don't know if I can. That's why I might make my best bet for this segment, Akron over 19.5 points, because I think they're going to score some points here. I think that defense, it's a classic case, Drew, of a defense that's going to play well in the start, and then they're just going to be out there so long because the offense keeps going 3 and out, and then they eventually get tired, they get worn down, and Akron scores some points here. So I'm going to be on the Akron team total over, and I just got to decide if I want to be on Akron plus the points as well. I think the Zips put forth a very nice effort on Saturday.
The Zips. All right, guys. We'll get Matt's most confident play here after this game. And Matt, we do have Tuesday, November 1st, Ball State, Kent State, Buffalo versus Ohio, kicking us off in Maction, man.
So good. Love Maction so much.
Absolutely, guys. It's coming to us next week. We got last game here, 127, 128, SEC battle, Missouri and South Carolina. Gamecocks -4, 47 being the total in Columbia, South Carolina.
So I'm kind of kicking myself, Drew, because last week we had the Texas A&M game on our group, and I said I liked South Carolina, especially with it was like 3.5. We were kind of worried about Texas A&M a little bit, but like I liked South Carolina last week. Now my question is, Drew, do they bounce back? Do they keep going this week against a Missouri team who barely got by Vanderbilt, 17-14 here? I think, Drew, South Carolina is better as an underdog. I don't know. You know the SEC better than I do. Laying points with South Carolina scares me a little bit. It's still a youngish team coming off a humongous win against Texas A&M, against the team they should beat. So I feel like, Drew, I like South Carolina more as an underdog than a favorite. Do you agree?
I do agree. Yeah, I agree with that sentiment. In this game, I mean, 47 flat. I kind of disagree with the move towards the under. I like both quarterbacks here, Missouri and South Carolina. I like it up and over, but the market disagreeing with me, and it's not something that I bet personally. That's just kind of a game that I have circled, guys. But that does it for the segment number 1 with our leadoff hitter, Matt Josephs. Again, we're bringing in Teddy Covers here, 3:45 Eastern time for part number 2, as we'll start off with Kentucky and Tennessee and make our way down the next 10 or 11 games with him. Guys, check out Matt Joseph, sportsmemo.com. Went over the records there, guys. Really seen it well in college football. He's got that MLB playoff run of 16-4, doing well in NFL props. NBA has started as well. He's 4-0 out the gate. Always does a great job here on the Every Game on the Board podcast. You can find his part 1 here each and every Wednesday, 2:20 Eastern. Unless you want to change that up with Maction coming, maybe going Tuesday, Matt. I don't know, though, schedule-wise. I'll leave that in your hands. Sometimes it can be tough. Follow him on Twitter at MidMajorMatt. Check them out, sportsmemo.com. Also, guys, feel free to comment if you're watching on the Wager Talk YouTube channel below. Any questions you have, we'll answer them on next week's show with Matt. Matt, any final thoughts here before we shut it down? And do you have a most confident play for us?
Yeah, college football is just going really well. And it's crazy when you mentioned what week it is in the sport, it's just crazy how fast this thing is gone, because I feel like we just were talking week 0 here. My most confident play is Akron over 19.5 points. I think the Zips account for themselves well. There's a chance my clients will get that and Akron plus the points, but that Akron defense scares me a little bit. I think DJ Irons gets this thing moving a little bit. I was very unimpressed with Miami, Ohio the last couple weeks. Their defense is good, don't get me wrong, but Akron's got that style that I think they're going to put up some points here. As long as DJ Irons is healthy, I think that the Akron Zips are going to account for themselves well here. So give me Akron over 19.5 points on DraftKings. And the key is to get it now, because last week, or at least, look at the, look at your book, because last week, Drew, when we gave out Iowa over 9.5 points, DraftKings took it down the next day because for some reason they don't do point totals, team totals for spreads of 30 or more. And obviously Ohio State moved to 30-point favorite in that game, so they took that down. Now that's might be just one book, but if you had DraftKings, you had a team total on on Wednesday. You did not have it on Thursday when that thing moved to 30. So timing is everything in this stuff.
Absolutely, guys. Yeah, no, that's get on it. We don't want it to drop here. And Matt, just last handicapping question for you: is DraftKings the only one with team totals out? And if so, when do the other books usually come out with team totals?
So a lot of them come out Friday or Saturday, which DraftKings usually puts them out on Tuesdays because I usually have them Tuesday nights, the last bit of notes that I add to my handicapping for this segment. So DraftKings has them out early. And the key thing for team totals is finding those key numbers. When you're trying to play overs, you don't want to be on the key numbers necessarily. And when you're playing unders, you want to make sure to get those key numbers when they're out there. You don't want to play like a dead number under and then lose out when it goes slightly over that. So looking for key numbers is the important thing if you're playing team totals in college football.
Words of wisdom from Matt Joseph, sportsmemo.com, at MidMajorMatt on Twitter. This is the Every Game on the Board podcast, part number 1 in the books. We'll be back with part number 2 with Teddy Covers, wherever you're downloading your podcast at. Every Game on the Board, Wager Talk YouTube channel as well. Please smash that like button. Feel free to reply below and cash those tickets. We'll be back at 3:45 Eastern, guys. Thanks for tuning in.